Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Bushin Lounge radio show, where we talk ministry, family, business, and through the lens of discipline and purpose. Welcome to this next episode, and we're so glad you're here. We're bringing on my good friend Colin Russell. He and I have known each other for years. He's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of wealth of expertise when it comes to financial services and also the political realm. And he's going to be discussing his experiences with alignment in that. So get ready for episode number 4 of the Bushin Lounge radio show, the alignment and financial services and healthy political standards. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bushin Lounge radio show, where we talk life, ministry, business, and family through the lens of discipline and purpose. I'm your host, Jason Murray, the Sensei. Today's episode is powerful. We're diving into alignment between financial services, political convictions, and a life that is Christ-centered. Okay? With us today is my good buddy, one of my best friends, Colin Russell, a financial registered representative and a rising leader in the political scene. So, introduce yourself a little bit, Colin. Just tell people who you are and what you do and where you're going. All right.
Excuse me. Well, hey, Jason. First of all, I'd just like to thank you for having me on this afternoon. It's a real honor to uh, uh, be a part of what you're doing here today and just share some thoughts on your radio program. So,
Yes,
uh,
sir.
thanks again for having me. So yes, my name is Colin Russell. I graduated from Oklahoma Baptist University back in '06 with a BBA in international business, went on to get an MBA in the same field. Uh, and in that time, I've worked both in the private and public sectors. And about probably 8 years or so into my career, I decided that the W-2, proverbial W-2 environment just wasn't for me. So
All right.
I I went into working for myself. I pursued financial license, the Series 6, with the official governmental title of a registered representative and or otherwise known as financial professional. So from there, I essentially help folks become financially independent and educated. Uh, it's my a personal goal of mine to retire early beyond that Fire Start program, as they has been coined to young professionals who want to retire in their 40s or early 50s or so. So I've assigned myself to that program.
Dude, that is awesome. That's incredible. Yeah. Very cool, man. Well, guys, we're gonna dive right into it. And again, Colin, the honor is mine and the privilege is mine to bring you on and to really discuss alignment in these 3 areas of life, right? And guys, we're going to talk about aligning with your finances and faith. Okay, so I truly believe, and Colin, I probably agrees with me, is that having a faith base intertwined with everything that we do is extremely important. And aligning our finances is very important. In fact, finances is talked about tremendously throughout the Bible and throughout the Old Testament and even the New Testament. It's talked about it in the parable of the talents. Solomon talks about it all the time in the book of Proverbs and even in Ecclesiastes. Okay. So, with that said, Proverbs 13:22. A righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children and grandchildren. You guys have heard me say this on my last couple of episodes, but keep in mind, it's pretty dadgum important if we keep reiterating it, right? So there's that. Luke 14:28, talking about the good stewardship and how God created us to be good stewards with the money that he provides us, with the income that he provides us. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost? That means sitting down with a budget, getting that budget together. But if you don't want to do it by yourself because you don't know where to start, that's why coming together with somebody like Colin Russell and myself as financial strategists to help you do that and help build you a program that allows you to do that so you can effectively count the cost of your vision, your dream, and your purpose and being properly aligned with that through your faith. Proverbs 21:5. The plans of the diligent lead surely to wealth. Leads surely to wealth. A person who's not diligent leads to being poor. And that's the Jason Murray paraphrase. You can go look it up yourself, but it's Proverbs 21:5. Okay. So, Colin, tell me a little bit about what you see as financial integrity and why it matters to each individual that will be viewing and listening to our show today.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So, the thing of it is, it aligns with our Christian living and Christian values, uh, and serving God's purpose. And the Bible tells us that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children's uh, children. Now, so one might ask themselves, what does that mean, that inheritance? Well, it's an inheritance of values. It's not necessarily being filthy dirt McScrooge McDuck rich, right? Uh, uh, but it means having a basis, having a sound discipline and values that you leave to your family, that they leave to their family, and so on and so forth. We talk a lot about in my business about generational uh, wealth, and and when I think about generational wealth, it's a collage of of finance, of spiritual values, emotional values. So wealth isn't necessarily privy to money and how much I can get, right? Uh, and I'm reminded of a couple of a few parables that Jesus spoke of, and just to add, well, it's not all about money. Jesus did speak about money more than any other subject in his ministry. And one of these parables you've already alluded to, Jason, the parable of the talents, and it really goes into what we're talking about here today, being faithful with what the Lord has given us. You tie that back to the very beginning, to Genesis, when He told man to plow the earth, subdue it, and make it grow. The Lord created this world for us to grow and to cultivate and serve his purpose. And at the end of the day, isn't that what life is all about? Bringing glory to our God. And how do we do that? By loving him with all our heart, soul, and mind, by loving each other, and how better to love one another than to help one another have the best standard of living that we can uh, achieve, and then we give the proceeds back to God. A couple other parables are that of the shrewd manager, uh, and another one escapes my mind off the top of my head, but the bottom line. He's telling us to be faithful with the resources he's uh, given us to cultivate and grow, and that aligns, in today's in American society, at the very least, it aligns our financial integrity with our spiritual integrity and bringing that very glory to God, showing Him that we love Him the most and that we love one another almost as well too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when it comes, so what I'm hearing you say, financial integrity is doing doing what God says to do with it, right?
Bottom
And
line, yeah.
yeah, yeah, doing what God says to do with it, and applying those principles within your financial structure, within your financial legacy, and so on and so forth. So so what is the dangers, you would say, of mixing poor stewardship with faith? And you and I have talked about this a couple of times before, and I'm going to jump in and kind of start with this a little bit. It's say that um, it's like it's like somebody telling me one thing, oh, you need to go save your money, but then they spend all of it, right? And then they don't get ahead, but they're telling you what you need to do to get ahead. What are your thoughts on that?
Right, right. Excuse me. Uh, well, tying back into those parables, we're told what the consequences are of doing the wrong thing with our money.
So be a little specific with that.
Yeah,
What is one of those things that Jesus talked about in those
yeah,
parables?
absolutely. Well, and as you said, people telling us to save our money. Most of us who've grown up a middle class lifestyle, that's what we're told all our lives. Put your money in the bank, put it in a CD or something. uh,
Yeah.
you know, earn what, a millionth of a percent back, and that's is that you know uh, those of us with family from the Depression era, they've taught us to stuff it under your mattress. It's the safest there, right? Well,
Right.
is that not what the bad uh, servant did in the parable of the talents? He went and buried the master's money. The master came back, and and we don't know exactly what the time duration was, but things have gone up, right? Goods and services are more expensive when he came back than they were when he started, but that that talent is still, well, really, it's worth less than it was when you factor the mathematics into it. So naturally, the master's pretty ticked off about that. What does he say? You know what? The very least, you could have stuck it with the bankers. You could at least put it in a CD if you were that scared to invest, and so on. But
But
I
he
think
but he kicked him out of the kingdom,
he
essentially.
right. He's out. He was gone because at the end of the day, you know, we're supposed to love God with all our heart, mind, and soul. He's the only one, and and He tells us all that you can't serve two masters, right? You can't serve God, you can't serve Mammon. And I forget which version is which with the Bible. I'm not the best at the scripture memory, but I like the versions that use Mammon because it's more specific to what he's getting at, and in the context
Yeah,
of
Mammon was the god of greed.
God of greed. And when you're a poor steward with your finances, uh, then consequently, you're always worrying about your money, always worrying about your budget, and that takes time away from serving the Lord and kingdom values. Oh, I don't have the money to give to the church this week, or or my church giving is my last priority. Uh, I got to take care of all this other stuff. I mean, we see it all the time. Money, money, money. Oh, my hours at work, or oh, I need to work Sunday morning, to make ends meet. Right? We're
Right. Yeah.
we're missing out on serving the Lord when we aren't in proper control of our finances, and we wind up serving that God of greed, and it's I'm convicted. A poor man can be just as greedy and money hungry as the super rich and powerful. Greed knows no class or status. It's
I
all about your
love it.
mindset.
And Colin, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you're one of the first people I've ever heard say that. Is that greed knows no class. Greed does not come and filter itself with any certain class. It comes with the poor just like it comes with the rich. It comes for the middle class just like it goes for the poor or the rich. Greed is everywhere. And if you're not careful, if you're serving the God of greed, you cannot serve God Yahweh, the one true God, right?
Right, right.
Yeah. So how does financial literacy and discipline glorify God? And you said it throughout all of this. You did say it, but Colin, what is it that you personally would say, not in a general term, but you personally would say how financial literacy and discipline will glorify God?
Right. Well, uh, for me, in my own story, it gives me the opportunity to personally serve my church and serve the community. It frees up the time. I'm no longer necessarily working an 8 to 5 because I have to. Rather, I'm using I have the freedom to use that 8 to 5 to go do go do mission work, go to another country if I'm called to help build a ministry, or to serve the spiritually hungry and poor in my own community, wherever I'm called in that moment, in those times. And frankly, I haven't thought too much about those particulars, since I've not yet reached that financial independence just yet. Uh, but
I appreciate your transparency about that. See,
yeah,
but isn't it great that you can be in this industry and work towards that and help people at the same time work towards that as well? Isn't that
absolutely.
incredible? I mean, that's beautiful. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, no, that right on point. And the Lord may even say, "Well, you're serving right now as you're being in that example, or showing people how to become financially independent, so that they have that opportunity to be shown the will and do their thing for God." We're all called to different acts of service, and life isn't all about making money and getting a piece of the apple pie until you die, however that old rap song goes. Right? So,
God.
yes, I'm,
Uh,
I'm a child of the 90s, so that shows my age.
there you go. Yeah, before you distracted me on that, I was about to go on to something else. But oh yeah, so we come into this place of reality that as we're growing in our financial stability and then our financial generational wealth, while we're bringing others to the same, calling others to the same, it reminds me of Gideon. Okay. And it blows my mind because, I didn't think about this until just now. And it encourages me, and hopefully it encourages you and everybody else watching here. God calls you to a financial services industry to become a financial professional and be educated in it, but you feel like you're living the suspect. Well, let's go back to Gideon. See, God goes to Gideon in the wine press where he's running away from the Midianites and he's thrashing wheat in the wine press. All right, guys, think about this. You don't thrash wheat in a wine press, you thrash it outside. But because you're so scared and terrified, right? And you're timid and you're just going through this, oh man, I'm not worth it. I'm not worth that. I just don't need to do that. A lot of times, we feel that way, especially when we're brand new in this. We were never taught money growing up. We were never taught financial security growing up. We were never taught, we were taught that you need to have it, but we weren't taught how to get it, right? And so we're like Gideon in the flipping wine press, ration wheat. Oh, I'm learning about my life insurance license. Oh, I'm learning about my investment license. But I got to thrash it in here because ain't nobody's going to say any. They're going to want to do any financial stuff with me. They're not going to want to do any of that stuff. And then God comes to Gideon and says, "What's up, warrior of God?" And he's just like, "What? Who? Me? Right?" By the way, this is the Bushin Lounge, guys. Bushin means warrior's heart or warrior spirit. So we're talking about warriors. This is the part of living as a warrior and your financial stability and your financial growth and your financial literacy. And so as we're growing together, God has called us to this job, this position, this career. God has called myself. God has called Colin to financial strategies, financial services, financial leadership, right? That's where God has called us. That's where God has placed us, right? And so understand this, guys, when when um, we feel like the suspect, so did Gideon. But you know what Gideon did? Gideon obeyed God. He trusted God. He went from being the scared guy to being the most intimidating guy. Okay, and he was the first one that took 300 people against an army of crazies. Okay, so if you're feeling small, know that you will rise up and take a stand. What do you think of that, Colin? I mean, do you feel that way too sometimes when you haven't made it yet to the $1 million, the seven figures, eight figures, nine figures, right? Do you feel that way sometimes?
Well, you know what they say, seeing is believing. So here, I am, preaching seven figure, six figure incomes and net worth, and my bank account doesn't reflect that right now. So yeah, it can feel intimidating sometimes, and particularly with uh, uh, the potential clientele that we're urged to approach in my company. Uh, yeah, that it can make you feel inadequate oftentimes. But at at the end of the day, it's about the education, and I don't have to let that uh, uh, get to me. I have the tools. I have uh, the knowledge, and it's just about uh, building that repertoire and building a business. And anyone who has made it, who has achieved that their personal financial independence number, as we call it, well, they know they hadn't always been there unless they were just born into it, in which case we would have never talked in the first place. They're already good to go. But anyone else understands the struggle. They'll tell you,
Yeah,
yeah, I was where you are, and I've been there. Any successful business entrepreneur they did the work, and they worked 10, 12 plus hours to get there. So, I'm not alone. I'm not unique in that proverbial struggle. Am I going to keep pressing on? Am I going to throw in the towel? That's what makes the difference, right?
Yeah. Yes. 100%. It's consistency with persistency, and it's being patiently persistent as well. You know, understanding that, you know, this kind of philosophy. And a guy named Shane Rubman, who, by the way, was living in his office because he was so dadgum broke to have his own place
Is
at the
that right?
time he was building his agency. Yep, coined this phrase. You know, if you find somebody that's confident about where they're going, you better hook your little red wagon up to them, because they're going to take you to generational wealth. And Shane Rubman talked about that. He is a multi-millionaire in the industry that's we're working in. A guy named, you know, uh, Art Williams. Just do it. Multi-billionaire. Okay. Jamie Prickett, high net worth individual out of Canada. All right. He continually says, "Hey, you can't fall off the floor." So guys, if you're on the dadgum floor, you can't fall off the floor. You can get back up, and the only place you can go is rise. And a righteous man falls 7 times, but gets back up. All right. So let's talk about righteous alignment in leadership. As Colin and I are believers in God and Jesus Christ our Lord. Now, if you don't believe God and Jesus Christ our Lord, we pray that you come to that, because we believe, and we've seen fruits of it, that it's the best peace of mind we could ever have in growing in our success and our ability to be influential, not just with ourselves and our own lives, but to others as well. Isaiah 33:22 says, "For the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, and the Lord is our king. It is he who will save us." Okay, Micah 6:8. "Do justly, love mercy, walk humbly with meekness with God." Okay. And Proverbs 29:2. "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice." All right. That's 29:2a. So guys, when we're talking about these things, we're talking about leadership now. And I'm going to let Colin kind of expound on this as he's preparing to be a political figure as well within the next few years. Okay. And so, Colin, with that said, based off of the principles we're teaching today, what is your vision for Oklahoma, or in future politics in general? You know,
Right, right.
Mm.
I always believe in God's calling. I'm I was taught growing up, not there's no such thing as coincidence, and I still hold to that to that viewpoint today. And so going into the politics, that's something that happened with me a few years ago. Well, back in 2018, when I was called upon to run for state representative. Hadn't particularly expressed any interest of my own at that time. Connections at the Capitol thought I should do so. So I went for it. I took a chance. I thought, what the hey, and
hey, let me pause for a second, guys. Anybody that's watching, anybody that's listening to this, right? You need to pay attention. Pay attention to the aspect that Colin just said. He just went out there and did it. He just went out there and did it. So Art Williams says, just do it and do it and do it until the job gets done. Art, I don't have enough people to call. Do it anyway. Art, I was successful in my previous company. Do I need to do it? Yeah, you really got to do it, right? Colin just went out there and did it. Okay. So keep that in mind as he's going through this. That's a good point, Colin. Keep going.
Well, and the beautiful thing about that point you just made there, Jason, I did not win that election, and it was very late in the game for me too. So I could have easily made the excuses. Oh, I don't have the connections. Oh, the competition knows way more people, yada yada, uh, and so I lost that, and it was the primary. I lost uh, the primary, but interestingly enough, it was by about a 15% margin. Uh,
And
and
and let me ask you, a 15% margin, and have you done this before, or was this your first try?
it was my very first try on
Listen
a
to
on a
that, people.
whim, more or less on a
Listen to
whim. Very
that.
limited time, very limited resources, but
He didn't even
um,
have the financial backing that he could have had. 15%. Unflippin' believable, dude.
yeah. So yes, did a lot better than I expected. But it's really what propagated to where I'm going now. That particular instance in my life
Hang on,
wasn't a,
hang on just a second.
oh yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Are we
Go ahead
back?
and finish. Yeah, finish your comment. Sorry.
Okay. Uh, well, long story short, I've really grown from that experience. I pursued the Series Six and started with the financial company. I'm following that election when I was propagated to go work for them, and that's where I've been since. And because of the connections I made in the community and my unexpected success at that time, here I was approached again around this time last year to run for state senate. Another complete surprise, random text, random phone call on my birthday. Apparently, there had been a town meeting, something I hadn't known about, something to which I hadn't been invited, but here they're scrambling. Oh, we need to find a state senator. It's an open seat, and apparently my name got thrown out there, and they asked me to to go for it. So uh, I, I did not I did not accept this time, simply because of the late notice and limited resources again. But it's these random instances of political involvement and steering. Well, that's again no coincidence, right? God's saying, "Hey, do something politically," right? So, okay, whatever you say, Lord. Uh, so my vision with uh, Oklahoma, I'm registered Republican, and I try to say that I say that loosely and and carefully, uh, because I don't like to think of it in terms of the party, of the national party, Republican versus Democrat, a liberal versus conservative, and uh, gun touting, so on and so forth. I try to divorce
You want
myself
to
from the
stay away
cliche.
from the you want to stay away from the political pronouns. That's what we'll call.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to
Yeah.
stay away from the stereotypical things that are said about either party.
Well,
It's
right. Oh, you're
yeah,
a Republican financial advisor. Oh, you love rich people and hate the poor, right? That's the cliche that comes with uh
right,
but
right.
but the bottom line is I call myself Republican in terms of the American Republic that this country was always meant to be, because I
Yeah,
believe in limited government and power of the states and of the people within those states. We are the ones who hold the reins on this country. We formed a constitution that provided for a very small federal government that's responsible for a standing military to protect us from foreign and domestic uh, threats, and to give us the free tools to run our own free market economy. And
Hmm.
that's what I want to see for the state of Oklahoma, to take back our sovereignty as a state, uh, to be be able to institute our constitutional power to nullify, to accept or reject uh, federal edicts or suggestions, uh, and really see them put in their place. I'd love to see us uh, grow our state militia and National Guard, have a stronger uh, presence. A lot of the threat I hear with cohorts is, well, if we don't accept federal edict, not only will they take federal funding away, they may take Tinker Air Force Base away, right? Major federal military institution. Hey, and I love Tinker. I'm glad it's here. At the same time, Oklahoma ought to be in a militarily enough strong position to be able to defend and thrive without Tinker, if that were to happen. I want us to be able to say so what to the feds in any situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
uh
So,
uh
so,
and
so let me ask, um, what, so is what you're saying more of a belief of the political leaders in power, or the political leaders serving the people, and not just any people, all people of the state, not just a certain select group here and there, not the rich, not the poor, not the middle class, but everybody involved? What is it that you believe would be, is your stance? Is it to help the people as a whole, or is it to help a certain class, or is it to help the political leaders? What is it for?
right. This is to help our state. The when I say, so what, and stick it to these leaders, or other, well, this applies to all levels, to not only the feds but to our state leaders. So, say we do achieve our complete sovereignty. Say Washington D.C. completely respects our decision making as a state of Oklahoma and recognizes as they're constitutionally obligated. Okay, great, awesome. But that's only the tip of the iceberg. At the same time, all right, we still need to keep our state leaders in in check. Now it's about the power of the counties and the power of the people that make up uh, the counties. Uh, a major a roadblock we've been fighting in the state of Oklahoma is the status and the power of the public school system, right? I mean, I hear it with my own reps and senators going back and forth with our governor all the time, and his picks for leadership in that arena, and and I personally say, hey, all you guys got it wrong in the first place. Why are we arguing about, you know, what the status or a strong arm of the public school system should be, whether long or short? I argue, why not gut it all together and give education to the parents, right? And these teachers that always go on about pay and status and such, they you know they ought to be able to just say, you know what, Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Governor, Mr. Rep, whoever, we're going to take the school system into our own hands. We are going to take some of these uh, financial skills that we're pushing out there and entrepreneurial skills that we're out there, you and I are out there teaching, and we'll go start our own school system, our own private school system, and teach the children of Oklahoma. You know what we already know. We already know how to how to teach and what these kids should or shouldn't know, as well as parents. And that's
Right.
just an example of any facet. You can throw in any subject matter out there, and I will argue that private citizens ought to be in control of it. It's not the state's position or power status to tell us how to direct our economy and our personal lives, or what we should or shouldn't know. That's not their job.
Now, obviously, critics would disagree with this statement in the sense that how are you going to monitor it? How are you going to regulate it? How's it going to be? Um, how's the education going to compare to others? Well, you know, you could argue that maybe the education could compete once again with the other countries, the third countries of the world, right? Third countries, not big superpower wealthy countries. We're talking about third world countries, okay? And their education system is far greater than ours. Would what you're suggesting be an opportunity for really our state to grow and excel our students to a better educational mindset?
Hmm. Jason, I would bring it even closer to home than other countries. I would say, compared to other states, compared to Texas, Kansas, neighboring states, let these other
Oh yeah,
guys, yeah, let them do the public thing. We do the private thing, and then we'll stack it up on a national level. See who's doing better. See what kind of job output is being put out there, and let the stats and let the GDP of our own country speak for itself, with the systems uh, competing across the country.
yeah. So that kind of jazzes me up a little bit because I'm a competitive guy and I'm sick and tired of certain states mocking Oklahoma, and that'd be
Well, I'm
that'd
tired of
be
teachers leaving Oklahoma for other states for better pay and opportunities. I mean,
right, right. They should, and wouldn't you agree that if they had financial professionals like you and I go into the be allowed to go into the teacher market for a change instead of just be segregated to one group, but be allowed to go into the teacher markets and give them better benefits packages because we know what they need, right?
well,
As financial strategists.
absolutely. And in a private school system, you could absolutely do that. Now, and the argument is, well, families can't afford private school. It's too expensive. You see these prices, yada yada yada. Well, a
But
whole
the but the governor actually issued a allowance for parents to put their kids in a private school program up to $7,500 per child is what I
hmm
hear. So
hmm
in order to make it a little more affordable, is there something that you would probably uh, you know is that something that you agree with, you stand by, or would you rather it be a little bit more, a little bit less? I mean, you know,
Sure, sure. Well, one thing I like to see taught in schools is simply supply and demand economics, personal finance, and basic econ. why those things aren't taught in schools as separate, distinct subjects is beyond me. I never learned any of it till I got to college, and looking back, I don't understand why not. Uh, and so that
Believe it or not, it's kind of funny because my grandparents, I actually got to see a template of my grandfather's sixth grade public school exam, state exam. And
mhm,
you know what it included? Economics,
economics,
business and economics. 100 years ago, guys, nearly 100 years
unbelievable.
ago, 80 to 100 years ago, they taught this stuff, but they don't teach it to us anymore. And it makes you wonder. It made me wonder. It's like, man, they just want me to go work for them and not build my own business and build my own economy, right?
Right,
And build my family's financial economy, you know?
right. So that said, the point being, I appreciate what the governor's doing with this incentive uh, package, and he's only one man at the end of the day. But what the bottom line is, we need to get the public system all together. And I understand that that's going to sound pretty extremist to a lot of constituents. And however, when you tie in free market economics in there, it naturally takes over. Uh, and the people who are using the service are the ones paying for it. Where did we ever get to homeowners have to subsidize a public school? Uh, you know,
Right.
point blank. How is it that 70% of property tax supposedly goes to public school, and yet teachers don't have the pay or the resources they need? I've never been able to figure out those mathematics. Uh,
Right.
uh,
Right.
and uh, and just like anything else, you pay for the product and service you use, and it's provided to you. You, people without children, they don't. There's no reason they need to be paying for for children's schooling.
Right.
It's pretty simple, guys. And when you privatize the system, then the supply and demand works itself out. It drives the prices up and down accordingly. So you get rid of the public, or as I like to call it, the government controlled wedge out of there, more appropriately put, then those high private school prices are going to naturally come down by means of the excessive supply of competition out there, and and the system will be forced to teach the subjects that need to be taught by competition, and parents are going they'll naturally gravitate towards the availability of quality education and price that naturally suits they and their children's needs. And
Yeah.
that's how we're going to become a top 10 educational state, as the governor's been proposing all this time.
Yeah. So with that said, how would what you're proposing be kind of more of a Christ-centered alignment? I what are your thoughts on that?
Right. Well, it gets us off uh, government dependence altogether. I wish I had a pictorial or some kind of graph with me today.
Maybe on our next show, right?
Yeah, but we wonder about the high percentage levels of welfare cases, and the high unemployment rate, incarceration, so on and so forth. How a lot of these kids come out of school, and they're led to believe, well, that's all you got for you. You join the military, or you become a prison case, or other, or you're working at McDonald's, uh, you know, so on. And it doesn't have to be that way. Any child should, but also can have the ability to come out of school with any option that they want. become an entrepreneur or go work a good job, join the military, and go to college, anything. They ought to be able to have any of those options at their fingertips that they choose. And I'm afraid the current public system just doesn't allow for that. Standardized testing is a big uh, joke where their children just aren't taught practical subject matter in school. They're taught what Common Core uh, mathematics. It does it all for them. They don't have to do it for themselves. They're taught bias, history, what the CRT. I mean, all this crap that state and government. I hate to say has been perpetuating uh, on them. And
Well, yeah. I wanted to address that, perpetuating on them. So the government school system is not leading people to their purpose. It's leading people to what they want them to do.
that's right. That's right. And see the difference. So in with the private school system and the homeschool system, kids are taught, bottom line, what parents want them to be taught. Okay, parents are either going to homeschool them at home. They're going to learn what parents say they need to learn, or they're going to send them to a
Yeah.
private school that they trust they'll learn what needs to be learned.
And as a parent, I would go a little deeper with that. For me, it's I want my children to be guided to their purpose, not to be guided to what I want them to do or what the government wants them to do and all that stuff, because I can get in the way of my child's purpose if I'm
Mhm.
not careful.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to get in the way of my child's purpose because God has a purpose for each and every one of us. And if I get in the way of that, I've done the just as detrimental thing as the United States government has done with our public school system. And so instead of that, I would go on to say is I want to give them an opportunity to hone the skills they need to have to go live out their purpose. What the, what essentially they want to do with their lives. For me, when I was growing up in school, and I experienced all levels of school. My favorite was homeschooling. I got up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I did my work. I was done by noon, and I had the rest of the day to myself. You know what we did? We went out to town, right? We went to the coffee shops. Hung out with my parents' friends, my parents' colleagues, right? And then I started hanging out with people that were 10 years older than me because people that were 10 years older than me were in college or in high school at the time of my homeschooling, right? And then when I became a 15-year-old, I tested out of everything. Everything I tested out. But I was told that, hey, you're going to go to public school and go to high school and, you know, hang out with your peers. And I'm gonna be as brisk as possible. I got stupid. Okay, I got stupid
Happens to the best of us.
when I went to high school, and I got dumb in a sense of my education went down, my GPA went down, my and then my communication skills declined a little bit too because I was no longer hanging around with people that could bring more value to my life. I was hanging around people that had the same value of life or less. And see, and then I was out of place for the first 2, 3 years. I was probably out of place the entire time. You know, I really
Mm.
was. And but then it was like my GPA went down because I didn't do homework for the first 2 years. Well, why didn't you do any homework, Jason? Isn't that what a good, diligent student does? Not if you already went over the dadgum stuff. If you
Right.
already went over the dadgum stuff and then you're telling your teachers and getting all the answers right and the exams and then writing these great research papers over it. And they're like, how do you do that when you don't even do the homework? I went over this stuff in the fourth grade. Think about that. I was a freshman in high school. And what they were teaching me was stuff I already went through in the fourth and fifth grade.
Hmm. Wow.
That should tell you something, guys.
Unbelievable.
That should tell you something. All right.
Well,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
so, so, with that said, when I would say Christ-centered alignment in education is this: if God gives you a wisdom, He gives you the tools, right? Man's wisdom is far less than God's foolishness. That's in the Bible, guys. That's in the Bible. So if you want to get to a place of having Christ-centered alignment in your education, wouldn't you think having the wisdom of God along there to back it up and take care of it and get these principalities and rulers off of our backs, so to say, and give us the freedom and the capabilities to teach our children the way that leads them to their purpose?
Yeah.
You know, Matthew 6:33, seek above all else the kingdom of God and its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Don't be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12, verse 2, guys. Romans 12, verse 2. Well, we're being conformed to the pattern of this world throughout this public system like you wouldn't believe. It's everywhere, you know? Examine yourselves. See whether you are in the faith. Because guys, if you're not in the faith, how are you going to see what is good? How are you going to see what is fully wise? You know? I mean, there's some great things going on, and I'm not disregarding some of the wisdom that's come out of people in a sense of, Plato, Aristotle, and all this stuff, but it still doesn't compare to the wisdom of Solomon, who had God, who had faith, who had understanding. It is still recorded up to this day that he was still the wealthiest man. It would take 10 Elon Musks to scratch the the basic foundation of Solomon's wealth. Seriously, 7 to 10 Elon Musk in order to do that. He would be it's unreal, unbelievable. Okay, guys. So I think that man had a lot of wisdom and understanding. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I was getting on it. So alignment isn't perfection, it's a constant course of correction. Keeping our hearts, finances, leadership, political leadership, and leadership in general, and influence pointed toward Christ and God, right? So build what lasts: generational wealth, godly leadership, and kingdom impact. And fight for righteous standards, even when it's uncomfortable. I'm sure we've been uncomfortable talking about some of the topics we've been talking about today, but it's
Oh, yeah.
important, it's important. And stay aligned in your money, your leadership, and your faith. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, says every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Well, Colin and I wish to become financial strategists and have the money to back it, but we're in the process of growing that. Do you want to come with us too? We can help you. We can bring you in on that, right? Right? Bonus scriptures, okay? We got some bonus scriptures about family and marital alignment, okay? Ephesians 5:21 through 33, look it up. Talks about mutual love, submission, and honor between spouses, financially, biblically, and politically, okay? First Peter 3:1 through 7, godly conduct of both husband and wife, okay? Psalm 128, 1 through 4. Blessed is everyone who fears the Lord and who walks in his ways. All right. Colin, you got anything to add before we kind of close it out?
Uh, well, just tying into alignment has been the overarching theme uh, of this podcast, and uh, I really appreciate how we're aligning our finances, our political points of view, and our spiritual points of view all in one, and it all comes down to just having a sense of liberty and freedom, and we're told that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, uh, and that I think that's what we're trying to accomplish overall: liberty in our spiritual walk, liberty in our country, legislatively, and liberty in our finances. We want to have a firm hold on all of those things, and not let any of it come between us and serving the will of God. I think that's the overarching goal here, and what we want to achieve.
That's good. That's good. Very powerful stuff. Well, thanks again for everybody joining us and watching this and listening to us. Again, you'll find ways to connect with Colin. Um, Colin, what social media platforms are you on?
Well, right now I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I yeah, that I haven't much engaged in any others to date yet. Uh, but
Okay.
yeah,
So
you can.
so Facebook's the best way to find you
Yeah.
on social media platforms and such.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. And guys, um, also wanna let you know that we try to do this. We do our show every single Saturday, and we'll periodically have new guests come alongside. Guys, if you want a financial professional to look at what you're doing and get a second opinion, maybe some peace of mind, you can contact Colin, and I'll put that up in at the end of the video and our conversation here. And you can also contact me. And again, for any of you wanting to know more a little bit about his political stance and where he stands in his political beliefs, and you want to know how to get in touch with him and how to support him, that too will also be in the slide that will come live here at the end of this presentation and this episode. Thank you so much for joining us on episode 4, and we'll talk soon. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for this bold but needed episode of the Bushin Lounge radio show. Guys, special thanks to Colin Russell for coming on and giving his input on alignment in the political realm, financial services, and his faith in God. It was really incredible, and just thank him so much for being with us today. At the end of this video, I will have a slide for you guys to see how to connect with him, okay? If you have any further questions or want any of the services that he has to offer. All right, stay tuned for our next episode of Bushin Lounge Radio Show. Share this episode, subscribe, and let's keep sharpening each other, okay? Because we are the warriors of the future. We are the warriors that have essence of greatness, obtained and established the warrior's heart, okay? Until next time, keep your stance strong, your heart aligned, and your mission as clear as possible. This is the Sensei signing off. Arigato gozaimasu.